Hello, welcome to the Always Be Comedy podcast. Our guest today is the great John Tothill. Tim, I mean, we'll do a peek behind the curtain. As the show was wrapping up, we were both saying to each other, what a lovely bloke.
Lovely, lovely bloke. Yeah, a very, very charming man. If you've ever seen him, you'll know he is charm on stage. That is what the gig is. It is a joy to be in his company.
I didn't realise that he was as charming off as he was on. That is not an act at all. You know, some people dial up certain bits and dial down certain bits. It just feels like pure Tothill 24/7.
Yeah, 1,000,000,000%. Pure Tothill, 100% all of the time.
Okay. That's the next tour. I've got to share this. We finished the episode and we're both eulogising about what guy's such a lovely guy. And then I messaged Tim, I love John Tothill.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then Tim messaged back, is there a but? And I was like, no, I just wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a lovely compliment.
I love John Tothill. You waiting for what? But I didn't like his jumper. No, loved everything about him. Also, as you'll discover, it was half term when we were recording, and I was looking after the 7-year-old, which is obviously it's tricky when you're trying to do a podcast. So she comes in. John could not have been more lovely, but then also it was very clever what she did. At one point, she scribbled a note along a long strip of paper, and then somehow got the note through my office door. And as I turned to look, and she's done it, very clever. And the note basically crawls along my door, and I read the note, and it says, "Please, can I come in?" Oh, absolute heartbreaker. So yeah, Tim, John was just lovely throughout, even when there were mini intruders.
Oh God, of course. Yeah. A joy to have him on. And you can go see John Tothill doing his This Must Be Heaven tour in the UK in early 2026. This is a show. There were 2 or 3 shows which everyone was talking about at the Fringe this year, and This Must Be Heaven was very much one of them. I felt like you couldn't really move without hearing about how brilliant this show was. So
Tim, just to double down on that, it really was. I would say within the comedy industry, whatever that means, every Edinburgh there are, Tim, would you say 2 shows, maybe 3, that are the chat of the industry? And it's like in the ether. It's the comedy industry equivalent of water cooler chat. And this happens every Edinburgh, and John's was very much the big talk this summer, Tim.
Oh yeah, God, absolutely. It was extra shows off the wazoo. It was a busy old time for John. So as a result, he's of course touring it. So he's got a week at Soho Theatre in early Feb. He is then off to Edinburgh, Brighton, Bristol, Manchester, Birmingham, Oxford, Cambridge, and Glasgow. And then there's an unannounced, but he said on his podcast, so let's call it an exclusive, final performance at the gorgeous Wilton's Music Hall, also in East London. It is going to be an absolute banger.
Now, this is a really brilliant comedian, and here we go. Strap in, guys. I'm sure Tim will link this up to the point where there's no point in me saying this, but I'm sort of in it now. Campsite.bio/John Tothill, and that's JOHNTOTHILL. Campsite.bio/John Tothill. The dates are also on his Instagram at John Tothill. Tim, do you remember the days when Lee and Herring used to give information, but it'd be the end of an episode, and it would be super fast, so you had to pause the VHS to read it?
No, I don't, but I can certainly picture it.
Such a brilliant gag, that, isn't it?
Yeah, really good.
There'd be a flurry of extra content at the end of it, but this would be 1990s, so you would have to record it, pause it. I mean, the VHS pausing was at best crap and just try your best. But I mean, I love stuff like that. Tim, I would say if you've not seen John before, I would say it's beautiful writing. He's naturally funny. He's incredibly likable. I mean, the guy really is the complete package, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the sort of guy who he would be a brilliant MC and a brilliant closer. He knows he knows how to do it all, and it's very very impressive. He's great.
The first time I saw him at Always Be Comedy, we were all in the palm of his hand.
Yeah, God, absolutely. Yeah, and he's back with us in but a couple of weeks.
It is well remembered, Tim. I mean, this is a bill and a half. Friday the 14th of November. John Tothill, Lou Sanders, Tom Davis, Samira Banks.
Oh man, and you know what? Actually, I forgot this. This is something which happens on episodes every now and again, which I love. He also gets added to a gig live on the pod in early January. We won't spoil it because, well, actually, we will spoil it 8th of January, just so you can buy tickets for that. But we won't say who else is on because it gives away who he picks as part of his fantasy lineup.
That is a lovely moment, Tim.
Yeah, I love it. My favourite will have to be Stuart Law's getting added to Harry Hill because he talks about how he's never gigged with him and he can retire happy. And then we're like, do you want to do a gig? It's joyous.
Yeah, very sweet. Tim, the Tim, it's back to a certain TV show that they cannot bring back but this is the comedy equivalent of that. There must be a way of. Anyway, I'm sure TV execs have tried. I'll tell you what, if you visit alwaysbecomedy.com, we are adding shows. I know we say this all the time, but it is true. We're adding shows all the time. We had our second Chelsea night last night and another absolute banger. And then check this. There's been a lineup tweak, but check this, the Chelsea night. Thursday the 20th of November, Desiree Birch, Finn Taylor, Phil Ellis, Ayowade Bangboyi. Tim, that is a banger.
That is a gigantic banger. Finn is one of the hottest comedians around right now. He's just the Finn versus History tour is huge. Phil Ellis riding high on Taskmaster. Desiree Birch, TV mainstay, just always brilliant. I believe at time recording, doing last leg tonight. And Ayowade Bamboye is just like a star who is about to become the biggest actor on earth, basically. I think she has got so much potential. It's going to be crazy.
You said before we booked her for this 20th of November show, you were making the point of how much heat there is around this dude right now.
Yeah, absolutely. She appeared on the Adam Buxton podcast this month, I believe, and comedians aren't on that show very often. And if Buxton's getting involved, it's normally a very good sign. And obviously, she won Best Newcomer this year, so a whole lot of promise. And well, when she did Tommyfield, she was just brilliant. So yeah,
a delight. If we were Camp Hollywood agents, we would say that she was so hot right now.
She is so hot right now. Absolutely, it's all happening.
Sorry for laughing at my own. Anyway. It's so embarrassing. For all these shows and many more. Oh, Tim, also, we must flag, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, the 4th of November, there might be the last couple, literally the last couple of tickets for a Daniel Fox work in progress tonight. And then tomorrow, the icon, the people's champion, Bridget Christie is back Wednesday, the 5th of November. And then this Thursday in Chelsea, Joel Dommett, Ian Sterling, Celia AB, and an unlisted comedian, ... So, look, all sorts of shows coming up. We will see you at a show soon. Nishi Coombs is back Monday the 10th of November with Helen Bauer and Mary-Elaine Robertson. It's all happening at Always Be Comedy. Thank you. Sorry, I said like a local DJ. Tim, for a while, I got into Chris Moyles when I was about 15. He was a local DJ in Leeds.
Oh, was he? Wow.
Yeah, oh my God, I was like mega fan.
Wow, that's getting early on the Moylesy train.
This would have been the Pulse of West Yorkshire, and then he moved to Radio Air in Leeds, maybe.
Okay.
and then he left there, and then next thing you see, he's quite literally Radio One.
Wow. Okay. Wow. You sorry. Okay. Yeah. What? Why bring this up?
Because I sounded like a local radio DJ, and then
Sorry.
my
Yes.
immediate
Yes. Yes.
go-to for that as an Uber fan. Did you get into that as a youth? That
No.
sort of thing, local? No.
No. Radio really passed me by. I'd say, God, I've probably listened to about an hour of radio combined in my 32 years.
My jaw is wide open. Hang on. We'll continue this off pod. I'm fascinated. In the meantime, here is the great John Tothill.
Hello.
Oh, it's a good start.
Is that a good start?
That is a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah.
You can see and hear me all right.
Yeah.
Isn't it mad the difference in picture?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, this is much better.
This is like Chris Nolan.
We've got a show on our hands.
Oh, I'm so relieved. Okay, fine.
Because like John, big
Isn't
fan.
that terrible though? Like the to in 2025 to not be able to get a laptop to connect to the Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're singing to the choir, I can assure you.
Yeah.
And I feel it makes me so upset because nothing upsets me more actually. And there was a moment just then when I was on my laptop and I could hear you guys being like, John, could you turn your picture off? And I could hear you, but it wasn't. And it was like being kind of locked into my own existence. I couldn't reply.
Like the end of Interstellar.
Yeah. Yes, it was like the end of Interstellar. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think that is exactly what it was like. I mean, just for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean? So I'm so glad to be doing this.
Keep it in, I say.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. John, we will, as the listeners probably ascertained, it's like we're doing an advert for phones and at the expense of laptops.
Yeah.
John, please talk us through This Must Be Heaven.
So This Must Be Heaven was my show that went to Edinburgh this year. That kind of is sort of about 3 different stories. One of them is about a near-death experience that I had last year. But then the other ones are about the history of gluttony in England. And there's another story about a terrible cruise ship gig that I did. I did it in Edinburgh this year, and it's going on. Then I did it at Soho Theatre. It's going on tour, a UK tour next year, in sort of February and March. And then it will do another London run, ending at Wilton's Music Hall next year. Yeah, that's the plan for it.
Yeah, now, this is please say this is the highest compliment. Your Edinburgh show this year, every Edinburgh, 1 or 2 shows are the ones that are talked about really positively and glowingly. I can remember, say Nick Helm, maybe it was 2015, maybe it's before that. There was Finn Taylor had a year, and on and on and on. I feel like yours was definitely one of those 1 or 2 shows this year. I mean, that must have felt very exciting.
Well, thank you. It did feel exciting, although what I will say is it's very hard to tell if there's a buzz around your own show, because people will always talk to you about your show. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, like that, people being very nice to me would be like, there's a lot of talk about your show. And I kind of think, well, yeah, there is. People talk to me about my show all the time. But I can't tell whether people are talking about our show when I'm not in the room. By definition, that I can't witness the experiment. So it's like quantum mechanics, whatever. Like, if I observe the experiment, it stops. So in that sense, I just had to take people's word for it that it was going well. But yeah, it was really exciting and a bit scary. Yeah,
I've had that with movie stars. I've said, you're having a real time of it, and like they're not being like false modest or anything. They've gone, am I really? Because I think if you're in it, it's the whole wood for the trees thing, isn't it?
Exactly. And I am a movie star, James. That's the thing. What happened to me in Edinburgh is directly equivalent to what Brad Pitt must go through sometimes on a good day. Or let's not mince our words. I was an A-lister, for God's sake.
I mean, that takes me. Are you an actor as well then?
No, not really. I mean, I've just wrapped on my first ever acting role, but I am, and I think those people who witnessed that process would agree that I'm not an actor.
Is this Leo Wright's sitcom?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
I don't know when it will come out, but yeah, they announced it last week. Yeah.
What can you share without Team Reich, swinging through your windows and breaking your neck?
I'm not sure. I actually I don't know the answer to that, but I'll tell you basically everything if you want. I mean, it's a flat share sitcom, and I'm in I think sort of 4 out of 6 episodes and that kind of thing. And I really like my character. I can't say anything about the plot or anything like that, but I find my character very funny actually. I think Leo's done me a solid by giving me that part. And it was so much fun. I mean, like I think he's a serious talent, and he's also, because he's all across it. He wrote it, he's starring in it, and then he'd kind of like jump behind the monitor during the filming process, and he's just watching him like feed people sort of like line edits as he's in a scene that he's in. I did kind of think, oh yeah, you were really born to do this. Like I think he's just brilliant.
That's very exciting.
It is, yeah. Well, it is really exciting. Yeah, yeah. It's been really cool. Yeah. The scary thing with it, unfortunately, was it coincided with my Soho theatre run. So it was these 5 a.m. starts, because all the filming starts early, because I had a lot of like makeup and stuff in the morning, so I had to get there quite early. And then my Soho show was at 9 p.m. And so the days were unbelievably long. And so there was a week of sort of 3 to 5 hours sleep every night. And so by the end of that week, I felt exhausted. And then it was only the following week that I thought, oh yeah, that was really fun and really cool in retrospect. But at the time, it was such a faff,
Yeah, and also that's a tricky one to tell anyone about in a green room, because you're living, and I say this with pure love, you're living every comedian's dream there. So can you imagine you in a green room? God, I'm exhausted. I've got my bloody sold out run, and I'm trying to juggle it with an exciting TV project.
But this is it. Oh yeah, no, completely. To be absolutely clear, I felt like Joan Rivers. Do you know what I mean? Like I felt like I'd get, because also you know how like with TV stuff they give you a car and that kind of thing. So it'd be like at the end of the day being like, take me to the Soho Theatre for God's sake, and I'd put these big patches under my eyes which had caffeine in them, and I thought this is fantastic. But of course, the following week I was unemployed again, and that's why it's not every comedian's dream, because I guarantee you that is the blip in the 10 years that I've been trying to do this. It was the 1 week where I had employment.
This show of yours, obviously nominated, rave reviews. There's the tour, obviously, and so on. When is the moment, Tim? I don't think we've ever asked this question before. When's the moment when you know that the show is ready? Because always be comedy, we see lots of whips and previews. When's the moment where you go, "Yeah, I'm not changing the thing of this"?
I don't know. I really suffer from being. I'm very, very last minute. And it's a real problem, and I just don't. I think all I've done over the last few years is just accept it more and more. I don't really. I haven't been able to properly conquer that. I rewrote this show on the train up to Edinburgh, as I have done with every show I've done in Edinburgh, and that is just unfortunately an inevitable part of the process. I really want to know what she was holding.
I didn't see. I
didn't see. It looked like a piece of paper. It looked like, I hope it wasn't a sign being like, "Please help."
Thing is, she's very, very funny.
Yeah.
So what she'd done was she'd made a sign that said, "Please," long strip of paper, "Please, can I come in?" And she'd fed it through the door, so it came along the door, so I could read it.
Well, that is really funny.
Very clever. "Please, can I come in?" I literally had to plead with her, dude. To any parents listening, it's half term. This is. I'm very much in it. Yeah. So, but I mean, when you started, John, was this always the plan? You're one of those. And again, more compliments. You're one of those few guys who you're both an Edinburgh act and also a club act. Some acts, by their own admission, will say, "Oh, I can only do an Edinburgh show," or "I'm only a Club 20." Whereas you managed to straddle both. Was that always part of the process?
Well, that is actually such a nice thing to say, because that is the thing that I consistently worry about all the time. I was talking to I was talking to Jess Fosterque about this on one of the last days of Edinburgh this year, and she kind of said, she was like, I do find it hard to be. She's like, I'm either show ready or gig ready, and I really relate to her there. Like by the end of Edinburgh, obviously the 1 hour show was kind of, by the end of it you're kind of on autopilot, and you're sort of the struggle by the end of Edinburgh isn't that you can remember the show, it's that you hope you can still concentrate all the way through, so
Sure.
that it does shift. But then I went and did, like, I was doing sort of 10-minute spots or whatever throughout Edinburgh, and not like, I got worse and worse and worse at those sort of 10-15 minute spots. And by the end of Edinburgh, I had to do like a club 20 at Monkey Barrel, and I was so nervous for it. And now that the show's over for now, and come back in February, and I'm doing tour support for Alan Davis at the moment, and like now I'm back on the club sort of 20-25 minute stuff, and I've got better at that. But that took 4 or 5 gigs to get better at it, and I think if I had to do the show now, I'd find that quite difficult. So I really desperately want to be a comedian who can do both, and it really matters to me. I appreciate this is not a moral or political point or whatever, but purely sentimentally, it really does matter to me that I am courting as broad appeal as possible. And like, I really hope that I don't want to be a comedian who disappears into one-man shows. Not that there is anything wrong with that, nor do I want to be a comedian who can only do 20-minute things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just really does matter to me that I want to be able to at least have an idea of what to say in as wide a range of rooms as possible. And it's very difficult. It's just, and I don't really. I'm yet to find an answer for it, really.
Tim, I think he's got it. I mean, that time at ABC, people were coming up to John and like almost like touching the hem of his jacket like he was Diana.
Well, how are you finding the Alan Davis support slots? Because I know a couple of people who have been doing them, and I think Alan show's great. Did it at ABC in July, I think. It's a really good show. Yeah. But it's an older audience, and how are you finding performing to an older audience, let's say?
Well, yes. I mean, so I have found it very difficult. Touch wood, I'm now getting into the groove of it slightly. The first 3 performances or so were a bit ropey. It's hard to divorce the 2 elements of that show, I think, which make it challenging to do. The first is that it does skew slightly older, just by virtue of the fact that he's been on television for a long time, and also old people in regional theatres come to things demographically more than young people do. That is obviously a little bit challenging. With that said, the worst gigs that I ever did were on cruise ships, and that is a different quality of old person. Like, the cruise ships are like immersive Nigel Farage experiences, which are, and they are unkind, and they are actually almost cruel, and they're there to see what this is all about. Alan Davis's audiences are across the board the nicest people on planet Earth, and I think if I was him, I'd be so incredibly proud, of the people that he's managed to curate over the years. They are such kind people, and so they're usually a bit quiet, but they are kind and they do listen. And so there's something. It's never kind of embarrassing, even if it's a little bit quiet. It's never like, oh God, it doesn't feel like the Spanish Inquisition, On the other hand, I think the other thing that makes those gigs hard is just that it's tour support, and I think tour support is a difficult gig because the first 10 minutes of any tour support, your job isn't really to tell jokes; it's to get people facing in the right direction. Do you know what I mean? Especially in those massive venues. Like, I get so nervous before his gigs. I mean, I love him, and I've got kind of, and I'm slightly obsessed with him, like just from spending time with him on tour. I think he's like a really, really great man, and I can't believe sort of he sits backstage, kind of couldn't be as if he's about to kind of clock onto a shift, whereas what he's about to go is talk to 1,500 people, and I'm like shaking with nerves. But actually, like, those venues are so big that I think as a tour support, your job is to sort of make sure everyone's got their coat off and has sat down, they've got a beer in their hand and stuff. And the first 10 minutes of those gigs, I think, is getting people used to listening to someone talk on a microphone. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying not to take it too personally if the first few minutes of those gigs are quite difficult, you know?
And also, you are, and look, one of the ways I pay the mortgage is by being a TV warm-up guy. So I say this from experience. There's also that thing of, yes, of course, it's your job to, the tour support, get the crowd into the mood for laughing and so on. But, someone said this to me years ago with the tour support thing, and I've done tour support. You are, in the eyes of some, you are the thing that is in the way of the thing that they've come to see. And that's one of the things that you've sort of got to make peace with, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I'd be interested to know what you think of this, because you're much more experienced with this than me. But that I've almost found that now, instead of thinking about what joke can I open on, what I've been doing over the last few of these Alan gigs is actually, I do just kind of say to them, by the way, I'm your warm-up act. I'm going to do 20 minutes. Then there is going to be a 10-minute break, and then Alan's going to come on stage. Because actually, I think a lot of people, if you're not like a super regular comedy goer, there is a sense of I think the predominant emotion with which you are met is confusion.
I for what it's worth, I think 100%. I think that's. I'm nodding so much. I'm going to get RSI. I think you've got to do that because it's such an assumption to go on. If you went on and said, my mother-in-law, and I know that's not your opener anymore, but if you went on and they might be thinking, Jesus Christ, have we got tickets to the right thing?
Exactly. Yeah. Has Alan Davis had some incredibly aggressive cosmetic surgery and grown a ginger beard? Yeah.
The thing is, that is a good line though, isn't it?
Yeah, actually.
Don't worry, Alan hasn't had aggressive.
I was just thinking that actually, in a big venue, Tim, you could come on as Alan Davis, and the people at the back wouldn't bat an eyelid. Actually,
when's the next date? And we'll give it a go.
Yeah, be free for Woking on Saturday.
Perfect. See you there.
It works.
There was that, the American act Gallagher who used to hit watermelons with a sledgehammer.
No.
So he was huge. He would fill these cavernous spaces. Like I think he was playing arenas in the huge star in the 70s. He was called Gallagher, and that was pretty much the act. There's no shade there. And he would come on and he'd smash these watermelons with a sledgehammer. I think one tour, he sent his brother on tour just to be him, and I think it went fine.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
What's his warm-up act? Like a hydraulic press or something? How do you warm up for a watermelon smashing act?
Him bollocking the warm up. I feel like you trod on my toes a bit there. And also, I feel like you and Alan. I feel that's a lovely combo because it's no secret in the history of comedy there have been times where the tour support and the touring act, there's been a bit of an oil and water situation, whereas that's a match made in comedy heaven, isn't it?
Oh well, I hope so. That's very kind. I mean, we get on well. I think he can certainly tell how starstruck I am by him. But he's incredible. He's just a very nice man. He's such a nice, gentle man. I think. I think. I look at him and think like, wow, you're what I want to be when I grow up. I just think he's just on it. He's great.
How did you first get into comedy, John? What happened? Was there a day job before comedy, or has it always been comedy?
Well, so I'm one of those. I've wanted to do this since I was 11, kind of thing. So and I've never really had any doubt that this is what I wanted to do. So it's been a process of working out how to do it, and it's taken me. I'm 29 now. I left university when I was 21 and did a kind of weird range of slightly peculiar jobs. The one that I talk about the most is I worked in a school and worked as a kind of, I say on stage that I work as a teacher. I never got a PGCE or anything like that, but I actually joined a school just at the end of COVID, so I was basically a supply teacher, and I got given a year 4 class. I did that for almost a year, something like that. And so that ended up being the thing that I talk about a lot on stage, because a good, I think saying that I used to be a teacher, I think is a good introduction to my stand-up persona. Slightly pedagogic, slightly sort of pretentious, flamboyant. Like there's a kind of, and also low and high status at the same time. You know, I think it's a good introduction. So I've capitalized on that a lot, but actually I wasn't doing that for that long. I did all sorts of weird stuff. You know, I like worked in a coffee factory for a bit, and I did social media for Comic Relief, and just really anything, like just really anything, because I just really wanted to be in London so I could try and do open mics and that sort of thing. And then I started doing stand up properly. It was in 2022. I was lucky enough to win the 2 North Down New Act competition, and Adam Brace, the late dramaturg, came to that, and he and I worked together on a show in 2023. And so then I've been doing comedy more intensely since then, and I can now sort of almost go full time with it, but I'm still sort of cusping on that.
Please talk us through Footlights. How was that? Tim and I, Tim, do you remember this? We went through. There's a Wikipedia page of Footlights. Tim, I mean, we were on there a while. We could have spent a week on there.
Yeah. Well, famous one's always King Charles III.
Yes. So interesting. Yeah.
Because I misread it. I thought it was King. Did I think it was King Charles II? I'd misread it.
Well, there was mass confusion because obviously no one thinks of the current king doing sketch comedy.
Yes.
So what was he in Footlights?
He certainly performed in a smoker, which is the new material night they do every 2 weeks on a Tuesday at 11 p.m. So he's certain we know that there's a photo of him performing with the Footlights.
No way.
The structure of the Cambridge Footlights has changed so radically over the years that it's hard to know whether, like, it might have been that he was a member of the Footlights when it was a club and you would sort of pay £2 to become a life member or whatever. By the time I was doing it, the Footlights was a committee of 10 people, and you had to be in third year and you had to have been doing sketch comedy for 2 years or whatever. So it's changed a lot over the years. My experience of the Cambridge Footlights, and this places me in the top 1% of insufferable human beings on earth.
Yes, please.
My experience of the Cambridge Footlights was uncomplicatedly positive. But look, unfortunately, my experience at Cambridge University was uncomplicatedly positive, and that probably says more about me than it does about the kind of whether Cambridge is a flawless place or not. But I, was obsessed with comedy from being a kid, and was obsessed. I was obsessed, absolutely obsessed with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie.
I knew it. I swear that was my next question, because a bit of Fry and Laurie is. I mean, it does not get any better. What is it? Platinum with strontium edging, where the two guys are talking about the membership at the nightclub.
Yeah.
It's just, it's perfect. So I think Fry and Laurie, and again, another compliment, it comes out of you. I mean, that's great.
I'm gonna have to. I want to do this podcast every week for these compliments. Well, yes, and I think Fry and Laurie actually is underrated by comics, actually, across the board, pretty much. So I love it, and I haven't watched it in a few years, actually, and maybe I'll save that for a time of personal crisis. I'll go back.
I had the box set. Where that is, I've no idea.
My grandmother had the box set, not to make you feel old, but my grandmother had the box set, and I used.
She's 5 years younger than me.
But yeah, and so applying to Cambridge was because I wanted to be a comedian, and I loved it there, and I signed up for Footlights on day one of Freshers Week, and I realised now I really neglected my degree. It's that classic, the classic story of, the footlight who neglects his or her degree. But I in the end of. But by the end of Cambridge, I realised, I worked this out because I kept a diary at the time, I went on stage to perform on average every other day of my degree. So there was and I think that's what makes Footlights useful, is that you've just managed to get the sort of, the sort of 10,000 hours thing. I think you managed to make a dent in that quite quickly. And crucially, no one sees you do it other than other students. And I think that is what is really useful about it. You come out, even though you're probably terrible at comedy, and you certainly, what what you make up for in stage time, you lose in life experience and an ability to speak to normal human beings. But I think that is what makes Cambridge Footlights such a useful kind of stomping ground for it all.
Who were you footlighting with?
So Anya Magliano was the year below me. Leo Reich was the year below me. In my year, I wrote mostly with Eve Delaney, who now does a lot of audio writing for Radio 4, and James Coward, who's now went to drama school and does acting. And I'm obviously really close friends with them, and we still write bits and bobs together. And both of them will always like look over my stand-up show and that kind of thing. But yeah, that was sort of my cohort at the time.
That's very cool. And also,
is it cool?
Oh, well, I think you know what? If somebody wrote a book about the history of footlights,
it's coming out in sort of January sometime. I did an interview.
No, it is not.
Yeah, there is a biography of the Cambridge Footlights coming out. Yeah.
Is it like an oral history like the SNL one?
It's not just an oral history. He's a very kind of experienced biographer. He wrote a biography of now who did he write biographies of? He's written a lot of like British showbiz biographies.
It's not Graham McCann, is it?
I unfortunately now cannot remember his name.
Right, listen. That's wonderful. I'll be all over that, because there'd been a documentary on I think BBC sort of making the point that there was a time where you left Footlights and were immediately given a sitcom, but that's not been the way for 10-15 years.
Yes, and I wouldn't bring it up in a general meeting with a TV producer. I'd obfuscate from it, actually.
Go on. How come?
I think it's unfashionable. You know, I don't think there's anything sinister or weird going on. I just think it's fallen out of favour. I think it's a bit cringe to talk about. You know,
the listener can't see my jaw just hit the table.
Either way, the Cambridge Footlights, a very British comedy institution by Robert Sellers, is out on the 22nd of January.
That's the one. Yeah.
I will be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's I loved it. I had such a fun time doing it, and I learned loads. You know, like the opportunity is ridiculous. You know, you get to go on tour of America. You do a pantomime with the budget of, you know, a kind of big London show, where I played the Dame, and that was it was playing the Dame in the Footlights panto that made me fall in love with stand-up comedy. Because it was just so much face-to-face, you know, one man to an audience, lots of ad-libbing with a kind of generous Christmassy audience. I think really you're kind of chasing that high, I think, after that.
Also, look, I'm a Crystal Palace fan, right? Our academy is inarguable. The players we've churned out, right? The Footlights is, you know, whether you like it or not, it's inarguable. The talent that it's produced over the years. Yeah. I mean, it even produced a monarch. No, sorry, but you know what I mean. I'm being glib there, but the hit rate speaks for itself.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny though? Is I would love to know what it's like after COVID, because something that's strange about not just Cambridge, but I assume all universities, is you forget that their institutional memory is incredibly short. It's a very short-term institutional memory. If you I was taught to write sketches by the third years when I was in first year. You know, there was and it was crazy. It was this kind of, you know, you'd walk past Footlights in the street and you'd be like, oh, that's a footlight. You know, there was you were treated like a sort of like a music star or something. You know, there was a kind of weird like mystery around them all, and they were usually kind of like grumpy posh boys, and there was kind of something a bit like, there was just something a bit mysterious about them. I wonder now, like, you know, and there was a guy called Raph Wakefield who I was just obsessed with. You know, we wrote an Edinburgh show together in 2016, and it was a 2-man sketch show, and he literally like taught me how to write jokes. And now, of course, after COVID, that I wonder and I worry that maybe that institutional memory was clipped slightly, because it only takes a couple of years out of a university system for there to be really not many people left who know how this works. That worries me slightly. And, you know, that I mean, maybe it's a kind of idle worry. I'm sure Footlights is going strong and stuff, but I can't really imagine what damage COVID did to those kind of university institutions.
Now, I don't think you have time for what you don't have time for what I'm about to suggest here, but surely somebody, an ex-Footlight or someone like that, someone who knows what they're talking about, and I include you in this, is there not scope for like a how to write sketches thing? Because I've written on TV shows, and one thing I can do is I'm good at not really for me to say, but I'm good at writing monologue jokes. You know, current affairs, one like, you know, those sorts of gags. Yeah. But sometimes I get asked to write a sketch. Jeez, I was like, you know, when it goes inside Homer Simpson's head and there's like a monkey banging cymbals.
Yeah.
I think, and I know I'm not alone in that, but there's no one really, unless you went to something like that, no one really teaches you. I've heard David Spade say he got a job on SNL, and they go write a sketch, and he's like, he couldn't say it out loud, but he's like, I've never written a fucking sketch. Right. But I mean, there is surely supply and demand there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I would very happily go meet up with the Cambridge Footlights and run a workshop where, I mean, I'd be terrified of looking like an arsehole. You know, of being like, let me teach you all how to do it. And I'm sure if I was a student, I would have found that really annoying, because students think they know everything, obviously. But I do wonder whether there probably is a place for that. With that said, actually, just thinking about that, we had, you know, Tarot, the sketch group, because they were in Footlights. They came and helped us when we did a writing week for our tour show. So actually, there is some that, you know, we did, because we reached out and asked. So I wonder whether, you know, I'd certainly do it if someone asked me to, kind of thing. Because I care about the Footlights as an institution. You know, I'm quite sort of I'm very sentimental about it all. You know, it matters to me a lot.
Well, look, there you go. You heard it here first. I bet there's loads of comedians that would love to know how to write sketch.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I haven't done it for a long time.
I bet there's half the circuit, surely.
Yeah. Although, do you know what, though? People love to say that sketch comedy is in decline or whatever. And I think that's a very TV-centric view, because actually, like, sketch comedy is thriving on TikTok and Instagram, and it's really good. And there's a kind of slight technophobia, and people go, well, you know, what happened to sketch comedy on TV? Or it's too expensive to make. And you think, it's not too expensive to make. It's actually free to make, and it's being made by some of the funniest people on earth. But you just didn't download TikTok.
100%. Maybe you just fucking do it yourself. This thing of phone doesn't ring. Fucking pick up the phone and record a fucking sketch with it, you lazy fuck. Sorry.
Yeah.
It really all came out there, didn't it? Right, John, you're curating your fancy comedy gig. Do you have any pre-gig rituals?
Now, there is a difference, I think, between a pre-gig ritual and a pre-show ritual. And I'm differentiating that as in like a 1 hour show and a 20-minute spot. I don't think there's much room for ritual in a 20-minute spot if you're in a green room. And usually I'm usually a little bit antisocial with comics before I go on stage, and then overly social afterwards in a green room, because I guess I do get very, very nervous. I don't know about you guys. I get so nervous. But so my pre-gig ritual usually involves having a poo, obviously, and then usually being a little bit quiet and trying to remember that this is supposed to be fun. Whereas a pre-show ritual, I feel like you've got more space to be yourself. And so I actually usually, I always bring a glass of white wine on stage, even if I don't drink it. I think it's a nice prop for a show, and it helps the persona look ridiculous. But also, I usually, I spend quite a lot of time curating my pre-show playlist, as in the pre-state for the venue. And so if possible, I'll usually try and stand in the wings and listen to the audience coming in, because I like the really loud music playing. If it's getting the audience in the mood, then hopefully it'll get me in the mood as well. So it's slightly different, depends on whether it's a show or a gig. But I don't think anything ever quite approaches ritual status necessarily.
Great answer. Who would MC?
Right. I've built this gig around the MC, really. When I was thinking about this, I mean, this has been this has been a lot of fun, but also quite painful to curate a dream gig. I realised in thinking about this how much I love a character MC, because I originally thought Al Murray, the pub landlord, for the best crowd work on earth. On the other hand, then I thought actually Diane Chorley could be a good shout, because I used to. I mean, you can actually maybe see in the background. I've got a Diane Chorley poster behind me. I'm obsessed with her, and her nights where she emceed the Flick nights were some of the best gigs I've ever been to. Or do we go kind of ABBA Voyage and do a hologram of Dame Edna Everage or Lily Savage or someone like that? But then actually, I've settled on my dream MC. And I'm embarrassed to say this, because this will now be something like genuinely maybe sort of I've publicly said how much I love this person. I have met them once, and I've got now it's becoming almost embarrassing how much I eulogize and evangelize about them behind their back. But my favorite comedian in the world is Colin Holt, specifically Colin Holt as Anna Mann, and I think that would be a dream MC. I think that Colin Holt's stand-up is incredible, but also Colin Holt as Anna Mann, I think, as an MC, is just absolutely electric. Perfect crowd work, perfect like vibe setting, warm, and I think the most generous act you can see. And crucially, like all like really generous comedians, you come away from Anna Mann feeling like you're funny. Do you know what I mean? She makes you feel funny. She makes you feel like you're in on a joke. And I love him. I love him so much, and it's completely parasocial because we've only met one time, and it's becoming embarrassing how much I say I love him. But he is my favourite comedian and my biggest hero. So
amazing,
him.
Great choice. Now, who would open?
Opening, I think one of my other absolute favourite comedians, Kate Berlant. And it's done on she is hired for this gig on the proviso that she does 20 minutes of new material, because I think Kate Berlant is at her funniest when she's like doing a work in progress. I saw her do a work in progress at the Soho Theatre a few months ago, and I was just like shaking with laughter. I think she's so funny. And also more importantly, I think Kate Berlant is cool. I think she's a really cool comedian, and there aren't many really cool comedians.
While you were talking, with my hand to God, email from the Soho Theatre announcing a run with, I'm reading this, American comedy icon Kate Berlant to make Soho Theatre Walthamstow debut, 22nd to the 23rd of January 2026.
Whoa! What are the chances of that? As we were talking about her.
Sorry, no. While we've been having this conversation, so just a few short minutes ago, but nevertheless,
there you are.
When you said Kate Berlant, I was like, ooh.
That's so crazy. Yeah. Well, I'll be there. I see her every time she comes to the UK.
Lovely bit of paid-for content we did there. Cheeky little advertorial. That was great. Tim, that would be our dream.
Oh my God, absolutely.
It's funny you mention Finder's Pancakes, because me and Tim have been. Who would go in the middle?
I think in the middle, I'd have Flo and Joan.
Oh, come on.
And I actually almost don't. I don't really. I've never met Flo and Joan, but they're two of my favourite comedians in the whole world, and watching them makes me feel quite emotional. Weirdly, I don't know why. I find them life affirming, and I think that they're lovely, and I'm so happy to watch them. And I watch them with a kind of strange kind of idiot smile on my face, and there's something very I don't know. It makes. Do you know what? This is so weird. There's something about Flo and Joan that makes me feel quite patriotic. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, on the emotional front, because it's the patriotic thing. Please explain. I do, but I know.
Think about, for me, that they engage in a tradition of British comedy song. That it's it's something about two sisters who have. It's almost like when you watch them, you can imagine them doing this when they were 4. And suddenly you can imagine them watching older British comedy singers on TV. There's almost something about I suppose you can. You're not just watching Flo and Joan. You're watching Victoria Wood and Noel Coward, and there's something. I think they belong to a lineage of a beautiful genre of very sweet very like wholesome, life-affirming comedy writing that I will never grow bored of. I hope that's not patronising to them.
No, it's so well put. The emotional thing, I'm sort of, I'm essentially copying what you're saying. I do often get emotional when there's an act they've obviously got innate talent and they've put the work in, and the planets have aligned and they're absolutely nailing it. I mean, the first couple of years of Always Be Comedy, when I was emceeing, a couple of times I'd choke up.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still have to gulp them down a bit. But Gemma Whelan used to have a character called Chastity Butterworth, and I used to watch her just annihilate. And a couple of times after she'd gone on, I was like, special round of applause. You know, it's sort of a shame that Gemma's acting has been like comedy's lost. So I do know what you mean there. And now you explain it with the lineage. Yeah, beautifully put. And I've said this before to them, I think, those two corpsing, and they're proper, it's authentic corpsing, not like fake corpsing where someone's done it at the exact point, 10 nights on the trot, whatever.
Yeah.
That should be prescribed on the NHS, because very few things make me happier than one of them's ad-libbed something that the other one wasn't expecting, and then they've lost it for a minute, you know.
Yeah. And it is also just worth like saying how good their musical is, which was the best thing I saw in Edinburgh last year. And yeah, I think that they are. I think they're geniuses, and I'm glad that I am alive at the same time as them. You know, and I'm excited to see what they'll write next. Like, I just really, really love them. I hope one day I'll gig with them.
Well, would you like to open on Thursday, the 8th of January?
Yes.
Well, they're closing, so we'll sort that out after the show.
That's crazy.
It's great.
Wow, you're such a fixer, aren't you? You're like Dolly from Hello Dolly.
Well, I'm so glad you said hello from Hello Dolly, because I wondered which direction. Given my name is James and I'm from Leeds, that could have taken a very different turn. I think I can say both of us. We've heard from like multiple people that is a show that the BBC would, or certainly any network would love to try bring back. They'd have to obviously change a lot about it, but they obviously cannot because it's so wedded to the guide. Because the format is perfect.
Yeah,
fixing things for people's dreams to come true. Yeah. But obviously, there are hurdles and there are hurdles.
It's really over for
that. Who would close this?
Well, so I mean, that's quite a sort of that's quite a camp evening, right? Do you think it's like Anna Mann bringing on Kate Berlant, then bringing on Flo and Joan? Like, the closer has to be a giant, really.
Ray Winston.
And I think, like, well, this is it. You know, it has to be someone like massive. And so I think after Anna Mann has taken the mic back off Flo and Joan, I think it can only go to Julian Clary. And so that's who I think would be my headline.
Leaned into it. Love it.
You know what I mean? And also, I think, crucially, some other stipulations about this gig, because I've thought very hard about it. I want it in a cabaret space, a bit maybe like the Brighton Comedy or something like that, or something like downstairs at the Soho. You know, tables, fake candles. Yeah. You know, looks a bit cheap, fantastic. And then, and I want Julian Clary to be a mystery headliner. Like, I want to watch Anna Mann goad an audience into being a bit like, well, you will definitely recognise your headliner, you know. And for Julian, I love Julian Clary, and I think also Julian Clary is particularly is in his prime all over again, you know. Like, I think I find the way that his persona has evolved over decades, from arguably one of the riskiest comedians on the circuit, to the point where, of course, he was, you know, essentially cancelled in the 90s, wasn't he, after his Norman Lamont joke, whatever. For him to now come back as like a sort of grand dame figure who can appear on Taskmaster and look like he's a bit annoyed to be there. I just, again, it's one of those people, like, it makes me, all of these acts make me like happy, rather than, they don't just make me laugh. I'm happy to see Julian Clary.
Have you met Clary?
Nope.
No, I haven't.
I've seen Julian Clary. Only time I've ever seen him, he was playing Buttons in a pantomime.
Yeah, great.
Perfect.
You know, yeah, I just think he's special.
I need to be careful. I'm not going to say anything litigious here, but I'd heard a rumour that when he does panto, is it true that he owns that panto company?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know. That's good. That's good stuff.
And I believe, therefore, is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
I
sure.
just did the international symbol for absolutely wedged.
Yeah, I should hope so. And even then, it won't. Whatever wealth he has, it won't be enough. He deserves more. There's Have you listened to his live? They do a live off menu episode with him.
Go on.
There's a lot he does. Julian Clary is like the special guest at the live off menu at the Palladium, and Julian Clary comes on and pretends not to know either of their names. Just doesn't give a shit. It's so funny. And then halfway through, he kind of tells Ed Gamble he's got a very obnoxious laugh, and then looks at James Acaster and says, "You could have ironed your shirt," And it's just such like this kind of cold, dismissive, performative cruelty that for some reason is the most warm and attractive thing I think that it's possible to watch. I just think he's so funny, and to see that persona evolve, I think is just amazing.
I've got a feeling that there might be an apology in the intro.
Right, is it not true?
I don't know. The thing is, the person that told me, you might have to beat this. No, let's not even go there. Right, I'll tell you both. I'll tell you both off mic. John, has there been an incident that you would love to replicate at this gig?
I think that I quite like a rowdy crowd, so long as I'm not emceeing. I actually don't mind if I'm doing sort of 15 minutes in a club. The rowdier, the better. And the best thing that ever happened to me was in a gig in Nottingham, which was like popping off. There was a stag group there. There was a man who was there with his son. They were celebrating something bizarre. I can't remember. But then there was a man on the front row who was a porn star. And the MC talked about that loads and loads and loads. And I thought, this is one of the, like, one of those gigs where it's like simmering, and it's kind of like you think this could go off. But in a way that is like I personally find really, really exciting. Like I've been lucky. I've been lucky not to feel like unsafe for the gig or whatever. But I really do. I do quite like it if it's a little bit fiery. And halfway through my act, someone threw their prosthetic arm on stage. And I just thought, this is the best gig I've ever been at. Like, this is absolutely electric.
Hang on, Tim, have we not heard this story from someone else? Someone else told this story about John
It was
on
a
another
prosthetic
episode.
Leg, Marcus Brigstock.
Oh, Tim, your memory.
This is an arm.
So this is a different incident.
This is the amputee cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Just, it was just... I think there's something about a gig where people are, because you can be actually, and this kind of answers the question of what you don't want to happen. I actually think that people in a comedy club, broadly speaking, can behave pretty badly so long as it's still engaging with the artifice of the form. Like if you're throwing your prosthetic arm on stage, you're part of the action, and you're not really subverting what's going on. Actually, the rudest thing I think you can do in a comedy club is kind of look around, look bored, talk to your friend, not pay attention. That's bad behavior. That kills gigs. Actually, like someone going a bit crazy because they're having such a good time, it can get out of hand. But I'd always rather that happen than someone just sat there and was regretted they'd come out.
This is it, and it's sometimes there'll be someone in a crowd, and Tim and I will have the chat, and we often come to the conclusion, no, because this person's having a great time, and they couldn't be more engaged. They're not being that disruptive. They're having the night of their lives, and it's not. And also, what do you say? Can you stop having so much fun? You can't say that at a comedy gig.
And for God's sake, this is why it really bothers me that I don't want to just be a one-man show comedian. We are nightclub acts. Like, we're entertainers. Like, we're not novelists or poets. We're not writing. We're not performing Shakespeare tragedies. Actually take your head out your ass and let people enjoy yourself. Like, do you know, it's like this. It does matter that these are comedy clubs, and if you want people to keep coming to them, you're going to have to be nice to them.
Absolutely. Now, has there been an incident that must not happen at this gig?
Well, just the worst gigs I did was this run of gigs on a cruise ship, which were just so awful. And that was because people just sat in complete stony silence. And to have 300 silent people, I just think so. I actually think the worst thing that people can do is, oh, do you know what? Actually, here's another thing of me being the most annoying man in the world. I really try so hard as part of the persona to be nice to the audience. Like I'm not a cruel comedian at all. I don't have the chops for it actually. Like I'm not good at coming up with insults anyway. So I couldn't do it if I tried. If you take your phone out at a club, I will stop and I will shout at you. And it actually sometimes isn't funny, and sometimes it even kills the vibe. But I don't care. We have got to stick up for this. It is so fucking rude to have your phone out at a comedy gig or any gig, and I think that is inexcusable. But with no excuses, no phones. And if someone gets their phone out, I think it makes me so angry and upset.
John, this was many years ago, but Tim, you were there. Someone at our gig once got their phone out, and it was a monster name. And because it was dark, they thought it was us flashing them off, and they wrapped up. Do you remember that, Tim?
I do. Yeah, I just love John's response.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just hell. That's the end of the world at that point, isn't it?
That person doesn't come anymore, and my mental health is better for it, Tim.
Yeah.
God, blimey. Yeah. No, yeah. So yeah, no audience. But here's the thing: for the dream gig, audience members have to hand their phones in at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that?
I do. Well, I like it. I just didn't expect you to.
We've
the Joe Rogan rule.
I've got to be careful here, Tim. We've had to do that, but that's all we can say, isn't it?
Oh yeah. There's been a few gigs where that's been requested. But yeah.
Really?
Nicely put.
That's literally is all we can say.
Okay.
Listen, I know. Once we stop, John, the next gig, can you get there 3 hours early?
For legal reasons, we're actually not going to discuss that at all with John.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Fuck.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Interesting.
Can you just blur out me winking? Final question then, John. How do you unwind after a gig?
I mean, unfortunately, I if unchecked, I will be in the bar, having 6 drinks, really. So now my new thing as part of my health kick is I'm trying, if I'm really wired with adrenaline, I might go to the gym. Isn't that so lame? And it's not because I like exercise, it's because I do need to extricate myself from these boozy environments because I love it. I absolutely love drinking. And I think
you're doing the right thing going to the gym.
Sorry?
You're doing the right thing, I think, there.
Yeah, but it doesn't always happen. I will often... there's nothing I like more than 100,000 glasses of wine after a 20-minute spot. You know, it's that for me is a great pleasure. And chatting with the other comics, but it's not sustainable at 6 nights a week.
You can see. Now, I'm a sober guy, but I read that aforementioned book about Live from New York. You can see how and why the Belushes and the Aykroyds were snorting the table lengths of cocaine to try keep the high up.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that our workplace is a bar.
Absolutely,
it doesn't. But Tim, you know what, Tim? We are a good influence on each other because you're the same. We're a couple of non-drinkers, so that temptation's never gonna. But I do get it, John. I absolutely get it. That you've just done a gig. You're often with good pals. Yeah. Why would you not? Why would you not go for a drink?
Yeah, exactly. Something that has helped is I've just completely I've disabused myself of the hope that I will finish a gig and go to bed. So I now do just like my now that I don't have a day job anymore, my days start. I usually wake up at about 10, and so I can go to sleep at about 2. And so by that point, it's not like I'm choosing between staying out partying or going to bed. It's usually a bit like, actually, no, after a gig, I've got a window of a few hours where even I could go home and do some work, or I could do some writing, whatever, So it does open up. I no longer conceive of gigs as the end of the day, which has been helpful.
But now, before just one thing, I know you've got to go, but when were you able to knock the day job on the head and go full time? Because that's quite a moment, isn't it?
So it depends. I was still tutoring a lot until Edinburgh. I now tutor 1 hour a week, but that's just because I didn't want to say goodbye to this one student because we get on very well. So I think really since Edinburgh, but I don't think it's going to be a binary. I don't think it's going to be like I don't mean binary. I don't think it's going to be a linear process. Like I'd imagine, I'm not expecting another role in a sitcom anytime soon. So once that money dries up, and that'll happen quite soon, I guess I'll probably go back to tutoring. And I'm trying not to frame that as a defeat. It's also I don't have plans to write a new Edinburgh show because I don't really want to do Edinburgh for a fourth consecutive year with a finished show. So I don't know how long it will be sustained, but at the moment there is no day job. But I'm trying. We'll see.
What age do you tutor?
I mostly tutor. Well, now I only tutor one primary school student, but I used to tutor any primary, but then also my degree was in music, so I did like tutor some music theory and that kind of thing for secondary school.
Amazing. Good on John. Good on you. And it was a loaded question from a dad with two girls.
You need a second job offer in one podcast.
Well, look, tell you what, I know you've got to go, but we'll email you about the Flo and Joan gig.
Oh yeah, brilliant! Thank you. Amazing.
Nice. And we'll see you very shortly. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't wait. Cannot wait.
Wonderful, John. Thank you so much. What? I probably should have said this behind your back. What a lovely guy.
Oh, that's very kind.
Something you say after someone's logged off, isn't it? But
I think you're lovely as well. This is great.
Oh.
Thanks so much, John.
Sorry, Tim.
Oh no, I was saying thank you very much, John. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, John.
Yeah, I can't wait for the gig.
Huge thanks to the great John Tothill there. Tim, your favourite John Tothill memory? I know mine straight off the bat.
Oh, go on, let's hear it.
So the first time he did a Wisby comedy, he's finished the set, and then it's either the break or it's the end of the show. Was John in the middle?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
So I wonder if it was the second break. But anyway, a group of ABCers all huddled around John and basically took it in turns to tell him that they'd previously seen him somewhere else and what huge fans they were. And I suppose it's that thing of realising that someone's not having a moment, because this has gone on for months for John, but I think it's always heart swelling to see such positive interactions.
Yeah, I absolutely love. Now, admittedly, they were talking about the reverse, but I love when people come see an act, do 20 at ABC, and then book for the full tour or the solo show or whatever. I really, really love when it happens, because I know it happened with Jin Hao Lee for sure. I mean, it's happened with too many acts actually for me to name, but admittedly, we're talking about the reverse when people have been to see a solo show and then gone, well, I'm going to see ABC to see them. But yeah, it's a joy. So lovely to see.
This is why I don't understand why certain acts don't do club nights, because they think that it's going to sort of like impact their tour numbers. And I always say to them, the opposite will happen. You'll sell more tickets for doing well at a club night. I find it odd at best. Let's just say that was a take two, because my first take was a bit too spicy.
Yeah. If an audience member can get everything out of you in your 15-minute middle spot, maybe you don't have as much faith in yourself as you should. I'll say that.
Oh, that was a much better way of putting it. What he said.
My favourite memory, this is not very good. I think John's fantastic, but my memory is weak. It's him doing a podcast and just being a very, very good guest, because we don't have we haven't had that many interactions with him. I think the first time we met him, this was our second time meeting him ever, and it was online. And it was like, I imagine he'll be a good guest, but he really went above and beyond. I thought he was particularly brilliant.
That's so brilliantly put. You're absolutely right. And I mean, now we're all in. We're
Oh
all
yeah,
aboard the Tothill train.
very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
I think with John, this is a star that is in the ascendancy, and you know the old line, "You ain't seen nothing yet." Very much, I feel that with John. Oh, I mean, by the way, he reveals more about the Leo Reich show, so I mean, there
Yes.
is literally more to come.
Yes, that's very exciting. His first ever acting job, and it's on a Channel 4 and I think A24
It is.
production.
It
Yeah,
is.
that
Isn't that
is
wild?
that's big stuff. That is very big stuff. Weirdly, I ran into Leo Reich, Lady Well, a couple of weeks ago, and he's very excited about it. There we go. Does that count as exclusive? Not really.
It does. Well, A20. I mean, I'm sure you know, but if you don't know, A24. If A24 was a studio, it would be Tim Lewis because they're the cool dudes.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
very
the,
nice. They're cooler
the,
than I am.
the stu. No. They're lucky to be mentioned in the same breath as you. They're the studio behind Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, Uncut Gems, Midsommar. I think I overpronounced that. Like I'm from Manchester. Moonlight, Beef on Netflix, Euphoria. I didn't know that. Good Lord. I mean, it's just extraordinary. So the fact that that show is with, hang on, what's the Saoirse Ronan movie? Lady Bird?
Lady Bird. Yeah.
That's A24, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I heard a story about Saoirse Ronan. It was a film junket where you do about 1 million interviews across a day in a hotel.
Mm.
And every single journalist started their chat with her going, "How do you say your name anyway?" Which is, I mean, is rude at best. And every time she laughed as if it's the first time she'd ever heard it, and went and said, "Oh, it's Saoirse as in inertia."
Yes. I remember.
And the publicist said, by the end of the day, the publicist was in awe of this woman.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
She's
good on her.
top 10 best in the world.
Oh, whoa, that's big, but I like it. I like it a lot.
I think she's incredible. Anyway, sorry, it's a lot of tangents from me today. I think it's a lack of sleep, but I don't mind it. Right, look, we will see you at a show soon. Thank you very much for all of your support, the shares, and all of that malarkey. Thanks for coming to the shows. Always grateful. As always, I mean, Tim, it's all very well me saying, "Hey, come over and say hello." I've been warming up. I mean, you know, we've said in the past there's not much telly getting made. This is one of my hottest ever streaks of warm up in 10, 12 years of however long I've been doing it. So I've not been at ABC as much as I would, as much as I perhaps not could have been, because it would be literally impossible. I've not been there as much as I have in the past. But I just wanted to explain where I've been.
You've been here, there, and everywhere,
and I can assure you, eye-wateringly grateful for all of it. Anyway, Tim will see you at a show. God bless him. Yeah. Tim will see you at a show soon. Thank you very much. As always, huge and heartfelt thanks. Bye.